This book suffers from a problem I like to call the special boy syndrome, where the author basically is in a toxic relationship with the protagonist and they hand the protagonist everything they need. Like this guy, this Wade dude, gets everything he needs to succeed in this story, and he doesn't even earn most of it. Most of it is just the author handing him everything he needs. And this absolutely drove me insane, because your goal with a story is to tell conflict, is to test the limits of your character, to test the wit of your character. But even though a lot of this story is around video games, the author is insane, because he just every time invents some magical artifact BS to solve the problem for the protagonist. And that is what I like to call the Terry Goodkind syndrome, the special boy, the special protagonist syndrome. Actually, this time I'm going to do something different, because I thought I would do that. Like this time we're actually doing a spoiler review. I honestly value the fact that you are here and the fact that you're watching my video. You could have been watching a countless number of videos, but you chose to watch my video, and that is amazing. You are amazing. And because of that, I want to do a spoiler review. I will be ripping this book to pieces, because the issue here is that this book is so full of problems that you cannot really talk about it without actually spoiling it. That's just how crazy this book is, because every paragraph, every chapter is representative of the same problem. And you know what's that problem? It's the special boy syndrome. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. In the beginning of the story, Wade is broke. He lives in this planet called Ludus, and Ludus basically, he can't leave it because he's broke. To go to other places, you need currency, the video game currency. So it's been 5 years since the hunt has begun for the eggs, right? Which is quite obvious from the story, from the synopsis. It has been 5 years. The issue here is that, the protagonist Wade actually figures out the trick, the first puzzle that will take you to the first gate, because there are 3 gates, the first one, the second one, and then the final one. He has to figure out the puzzle that Halliday has laid out for him. And here's the interesting bit, right? What ends up happening is that he basically figures out that the puzzle is referring to the place where he's stuck in, Ludus. But keep in mind, the protagonist is out of his wits. The protagonist is beaten. The protagonist is broke. He is in poverty. And the author can use this and what poverty can do to people, to explore a particularly interesting story. Instead, he breaks the protagonist out. And why I say this? Because it has been 5 years since the hunt has begun for this egg, which is described in Halliday's will, right? And this is very crucial, because it is basically the author bringing the gold to the protagonist. It is the author making the protagonist a special boy. And this happens a lot in fantasy. The protagonist, this farm boy who has not really spent a lot of time using the magic system, currently figures out a trick no one in history has been able to figure out, and this particular special boy is going to solve the mystery, or is going to save the world with this particular trick, or defeat the big bad guy. And that's basically what this is. This is basically the author, instead of letting Wade think and figure out a much cleverer way of getting out of poverty, it is basically the author getting Wade out of poverty and pushing him toward the plot. And it is very contrived. It feels very contrived. I can suspend my disbelief, but I can only do it for so much, because first time when I was reading it, I did suspend my disbelief. I was like, sure, why not? Because you see, Wade, when he gets the key, he actually becomes sort of rich. He becomes like a celebrity, and he uses his fame to do sponsorships and stuff like that, and basically get enough coins to do what he wants, right? And live a better life. But you just got the protagonist out of poverty. The thematic center of the story is poverty, and he just solved it for the protagonist. What the Do you see the problem here? But you would think that's where it finishes, but no. The story continues at this particular trend where the protagonist Wade is going to do something, and the author presents it as something extraordinarily complicated and difficult. But no. It is actually not complicated. It's not extraordinary. It is, in fact, if it's extraordinary at anything, it is extraordinarily simple. And it makes me really laugh, because the end of the story really is where I broke down. The end of the book is where I broke down. A lot of irrelevant shit happens. Someone else gets the second key. But moving on, his love interest also gets a key, Artemis, right? And then we come to the finale of the story. The final key is in a castle. And this particular castle, I forgot the name, but this particular castle, the corporation IOI finds the castle before Wade. And what ends up happening is that they put a force field around it because this is the last one. If they don't get this particular key, the corporation is forever going to lose control of the oasis. In other words, they're going to lose control of the most powerful thing to have ever existed, economically speaking, and they don't want to do that, and they want to get this. And so Special Boy Wade, right, Special Boy Syndrome is real with this one. He goes and infiltrates the most, technologically, currently out in the outside world, the most technologically advanced, corporation out there. From what we see in this story, these guys are big. These guys assassinate in the real world. These guys are not playing. They have resources. They have professionals. They have, people who have actually spent decades doing computers and computer coding and computer science, and they know technology in and out. And you would expect the security is good enough that a special boy called Wade cannot penetrate them. But no, actually, Wade ends up getting the information that they have on him and his friends, as well as breaking down the force field. And this is funny. This is really hilarious to me because the whole thing is just super contrived. How, for instance, find the little boy, the age of Wade, in this world who can infiltrate Google. Because that's what we're dealing with. That's the situation here. And this dude, we have to sit there and pretend that this corporation that is extremely technologically advanced is hacked by this special boy. No, it's just the protagonist getting to be special and doing the crazy shit. Because that's what has to be done for the plot to be advanced. Because the plot will not move. And this is the biggest issue with this book. Yeah, the author will do whatever it takes to move the plot. If he has to make up some illogical BS, he will make that illogical BS up. Once, Wade and the other two open the gate, basically a nuke happens. Something called the catalyst is set off, and this is the corporation, and they have to stop. They have to basically stop these three people from getting the final key, the final egg. And this is important because otherwise they just lose control to the oasis. But you see here what is happening because Wade dies. Everyone dies, basically. This is a nuke. This is a catalyst, and it is insanely powerful. In fact, I think at some point, Ernest, the author, describes it as like the universe shaking or something like that. And it is a very powerful bomb. That's what it is. But Wade gets to come back from death. And this is because he played a Pac-Man game where he got a coin. He played a very good Pac-Man game, and he basically got a coin, and this coin turns out is an extra life. Yeah, you see what I'm talking about. The author will do whatever it takes to advance the plot. He will literally protect Wade from the powerful, corporation, and he will kill everyone around so that no one can stop Wade. But that's not where it stops. Wade comes back from the death because of this, artifact. And then he uses, because you see, the gate now is in the sky. The gate is up there, and Wade is down here on the ground, and he can't reach it. What is he going to do? He has to fly, right? It turns out, Artemis doesn't actually turn out, we knew this, but Artemis has flying sneakers. She has flying sneakers. And Wade uses these flying sneakers to go up to the gate and enter the challenges. Don't hold your breath. Wade, of course, finishes all of them easily, okay? He finishes all of them extremely easy. I wasn't holding my breath. At this point, I was skimming. I'm sorry, I was skimming because the author is not interested in writing a conflict where the protagonist has to use their wit to solve the problems. Instead, he's interested in a conflict where the protagonist gets to be the everything man and does everything perfectly. And if he cannot do it, we're going to bail the motherfucker out. That's basically what the story is. He is always finding artifacts to move him along. And so that's why I had to do a spoiler review. And that is where actually all the spoilers finish. That's where all the spoilers finish. I'm sorry if I ruined the story for you. It's not worth your effort. But yeah, basically that's the gist of the biggest problem with this book, because the author always finds a way to get Jade out of it. Wade out of trouble. And if Jade cannot move the plot forward, you can be damn certain he will literally nuke everyone in order to make sure that the protagonist can have a private moment to finish the story. Yes, that's what it is. It's literally Wade getting a private moment to finish the story. He becomes a god, like inside the Oasis. Basically, he becomes also infinitely rich because Halliday, his wealth is equivalent to basically a fuck ton of wealth. And now the protagonist, the special boy, gets to have all of that. And so yeah, it is really boring. It is extremely, extremely dull. And this is another problem with the book as well, because the author makes effort. He makes some effort to try and explore a theme. The theme here being poverty. I think he fails miserably. He is content to imply that there is, the poverty, right? And there is this and it is bad. But he doesn't really explore it. Poverty and the fact that his characters are broke does not affect their decisions. Why? Because Wade, for instance, never has to try. But the author seems to make effort to try and explore this particular theme. And it is sad and pathetic to see him do this, because the gimmick of the whole thing, which is the Oasis, video games, puzzles, references, it takes over the theme and it destroys whatever story there could have been. And that's really this book. That's what it is. It's a book that tries to miserably explore a theme, but it fails. And also it's a book that wants to have conflict, but every time the author solves the conflict in a contrived way, where he's literally going to bomb everyone around so that the protagonist can have a private moment to finish the story. And that's what this book is. It's a terrible book. I do not recommend it in any way whatsoever. The only good quality about this book is Ernest's prose. His writing, his language, his prose is very, very simple, digestible, and I think I read this in 1 week. So that's the biggest, praise I can give him. It's that his story is easy to read, chapter after chapter after chapter. You can easily just pick it up, finish it, and move on with your life. I hope that you enjoyed, and if you did, consider subscribing and tell me if you love this book or if you hate it. There is nothing wrong with us disagreeing. You and me, if we disagree, there's nothing wrong with that, because guess what? This is all subjective. This is all from everyone's perspective. If you enjoyed this book, there is no shame in that. It's a passable book from my eyes. From your eyes, it can be the greatest piece of art to have ever been put to page. So tell me what you think, and I hope that you enjoyed this video or took something from it that I gave you value, because I really do value your time, and I hope that you got some value for your time. That's it. Have a nice day.